Greetings and welcome back. In all the time that I've spent playing and modding Fallout 4, I've never done a Let's Play. So before I put the game down for good, I'd like to give that a try. Some of my goals are, first, I'd like to get Curie, my favorite companion, early on. And since I don't agree with Bethesda's design choice to give her human form late in the game, I'll be using a console command to enable this much sooner. Another main goal I have is to complete the game with all three surface factions alive and at peace. And finally, I want to explore as many locations as possible. I feel like I missed a lot of interesting places my first few times through the game, and this will also help me with acquiring bobbleheads and magazines. Now, about my gameplay philosophy and the playthrough challenge. I want to be able to focus on playing the game and exploring, not micromanaging settlements, running political errands for factions, or tracking and min-maxing unlocks for my character build. I miss the build flexibility that Fallout 1 through 3 gave the player, so instead, I'll be adjusting my character to begin the game with the following. Stats equivalent to my Fallout 3 character with the Gifted perk, some unlock perks related to my backstory as a substitute for Fallout 3's Skilled and Tag perks, and as much as I like Start Me Up and Be Exceptional, I'll be doing this manually for simplicity and flexibility. I also want to adjust difficulty and immersion by using the following. A much slower timescale, a much higher damage difficulty modifier, a level cap, deadlier radiation poisoning, deadlier radiation storms, a selection of lore-friendly and balanced weapons and armor such as the 223 pistol, FNFAL, 10mm SMG, and a few tweaks of my own. I plan to avoid all drug use if possible. No wonder drugs. Stimpaks will be used for my companions only. I plan to sell all of my extra chems. My medical needs will be addressed from food, rest, and doctors. And on top of all this, I'll be playing through on survival difficulty. I also have a strong dislike for power armor in Fallout 4. They practically give it away like candy, so I will not be using it. Instead, I'll be using the following. Some assembly required, which removes most power armor from the game. My own custom-tiered version of Eleonora's Vault Suit, which has balanced armor ratings that upgrade every 10 levels, and a ballistic weave slot that opens at level 100. Survivalist go bags will serve as my backpacks, and they have carry weight bonuses that I have rebalanced for survival mode. I've also made a military beret that has a ballistic weave slot, and I'll be using Crafting Framework's invisible armor feature if I run into any problems with armor or clothing clipping through. Now, on to my settlement philosophy. I intend to do the minimum required to achieve my campaign goal of a peaceful end between all three factions. So, I will not be recruiting tons of settlers, setting up supply lines, or building huge bases with grand structures that rival Diamond City. I will not be building the Minutemen, or any other faction for that matter, into a world power that dominates the Commonwealth. I feel like all of these things get in the way of the sense of solitude and the desire to explore that made other Fallout games truly great. Instead, I'll be doing the following. Use existing structures or foundations only. Build compact and efficient player home-style settlements. And these will be intended for use by pre-existing settlers only. And should I decide to have a player home at a particular location, it must be an unoccupied settlement. And for the locations that I know I plan to use, I've modified them to be cleaned up and to suit my purposes. Finally, a note or two about performance and optimizations. To keep performance high, whenever I modify a cell, I use layers and regenerate precombines. I'll also be using an ENB, but not for any features or eye candy. It'll be for the frame cap and memory management tools only. These help with stability and performance. I'm also going to be disabling God Rays altogether. I don't feel like they add much for the amount of overhead that they put on your GPU. And I'd rather have GPU resources available for reshade features like improved lighting, color balance, distant depth of field, and shadow distance. This is also a major reason that I'm not going to be building huge settlements. And I've also cleaned the vanilla game files of dirty edits and worked extensively to optimize my load order to minimize conflicts and crashes. Well, that pretty much sums everything up. And while I may not talk much, when I do, I'll try to make it interesting or at least informative. I'm really looking forward to making these episodes and sharing them with you, so let's get into it.